What are some early warning signs for a bad apartment? Honestly, even the postings tend to be littered with red flags. All caps, weird and overly specific rules, hostile tone, only apply if you are clean and responsible. Sketchy applicants will be denied. Washing machine is for clothes only. Pets okay but no reptiles. Tells you that the landlord is a total piece of work. That some weird crap went down in the apartment before. Or, more likely, both. Drive through the complex on a Saturday night and ask yourself if it sounds like a dang party. Then ask yourself if that's the type of place you want to live. If you want to live in a dang party, then great. Inexperienced management staff. Found an apartment online and decided to see it in person. Made an appointment with the staff and when I got there no one was there. Rescheduled and they showed up late. Got a showing of the apartment and decided to submit an application. Got home a while later and noticed the staff took out 3 application fees on my bank statement. Called them and asked WTF. They kept saying I was lying and that they only charged 1 application fee. They made me go down to their office and print out bank statements to show the transactions fees. At this point I was just over this place. Left a review and they claimed I was lying and that they never even showed me an apartment on property. Yeah, I can only imagine what living there would have been like. But if the staff doesn't know what they're doing, you're going to have a bad time. I also think frequent changes in management company is a bad sign. I lived in a place that had 3 different management companies in the 2 years I lived there. They also had to ask me to lend them my apartment key for a few hours because they did not have a copy of their own. If your would-be future landlord lists off all the great things they're going to do soon TM, then months pass and they're still getting around to it. Congratulations on your purchase of soon. See what similar products you might like as well. Maybe, well, probably not. Never gonna happen. The complete saga. We don't really care TBH retro bundle. I'll look into it. Comedy by Julian Lord. If the apartment has a garbage room on each floor with a chute, go and look at it. If it reeks, if it has garbage juice on the floor, and if people leave their trash all over the place, leave immediately as that apartment will definitely have a roach problem. You can find a building where people aren't all lazy disgusting pigs. While looking at apartments years ago, my wife and I told the landlords we were looking for young professional style housing. One of them was overly enthusiastic and when we got there he seemed to change his tune and tried to prepare us for what we saw, saying things would be all cleaned up when the current tenant moved out. It was an older house with a hoarder living there and half the appliances and crap were all busted up. Struggling with something to say, we asked if there would be work done when it was cleaned out, and he said, yay, probably. Nope, the heck out of there so quick. The smell, almost impossible to fix. Damaged doors with new locks, dead bolts. Landlord that is way too agreeable until you sign the lease. Before I got my first apartment, my dad told me, when you're looking at an apartment, turn on the tap and smell the tap water. If the water smells skunky, it's not gonna get better. The following are signs that the owner's landlord management residents don't care about anything. Dirty garbage area, cigarette butts, dog poop, poorly parked cars, cars parked in no parking areas, shopping carts, loud music. These are indicators that are obvious before even stepping into a unit. Fiancé made poor choices before we moved in together. She didn't understand what the drawbacks to living in the absolute cheapest apartments within 50 miles could be. Signing the lease agreement we were told about a shooting range right up the road. We were told to not report gunshots because it was just the range. There was no shooting range. Also call local delivery shops. They wouldn't even meet us outside this apartment complex. Fences around them, but no security gate. Eviction piles. Lots of unattended small children. They show you a model unit, not the unit you're moving into. We toured more than half a dozen places and they all showed model units. Check closets, under the sink, and other out of the way places for roach and mouse traps. I've been to some places that had been cleaned up pretty nicely, had a fresh coat of paint, etc. But when I find those traps I always cut and run. Actually in the south where it's humid roach traps are common. It's full roach traps that are an issue. In college we were naive freshmen looking for an apartment for our sophomore year. We were shown a show apartment that was used to let prospective tenants like you see what the apartment would be like, and we wouldn't have to bug any current tenants to let us in to see their place. We didn't ask to see the actual apartment we'd live in before signing a lease. We were very dumb. The model apartment had hardwood floors, granite countertops, and brand new stainless steel appliances. We moved into our place and it didn't have any of that crap. Same. I think that is common in college apartments. Unfortunately, our options were limited because we wanted a place for just 2. Most apps in our college town were designed for 6 people. We saw a gorgeous apartment across from the office. We got a basement one with a lunatic living upstairs. If all the cars in the parking lot are very old, beaten up, and run down, chances are you're going to have ghetto trashy neighbors. You may think, well, I don't plan to interact with my neighbors much. Rest assured, they will interact with you. Also, I'll never get anything but a top level unit ever again. You're going to hear every footstep. I lived 2 years under a beast, nocturnal neighbors with floors that creak like a bee for hours in the middle of the night. You don't have a thermostat to control your own heating and cooling. Or there is one, but it's just for show. Common in pre-1980 apartment buildings in the Northeast. Before you even walk into the apartment, case the parking lot. If you've got a lot of junk and or broken down cars, it's not worth even talking to the landlord. Check for property damage. Are the fences in a constant state of disrepair? Pool always down for maintenance? Broken windows and doors? Are the dumpsters overflowing? The opposite can definitely be true. I can show you some ghetto areas of Dallas with rundown acid apartments and nothing but Lexus in the parking lot. Handshake offers that are not on your lease. Promises for a set rent that won't increase. Extra privileges. Priority on the maintenance list. Generally anything that seems like a perk and isn't on your lease agreement. This happens a lot to people who haven't rented before. Anything that is not on your lease agreement is not a guarantee at all. On the other hand, they'll also flaunt things that are on the agreement by making them seem like luxuries. When you're faced with a promise, ask where it is on the lease if you don't see it. Property managers and people in the lease office are there to fill units, not be your buddy, no matter how nice they are. Masking tape on the carpet in the shape of a body. Seriously, a friend of mine went to an apartment showing and saw that. The landlord claimed they had no idea what it was all about, so we don't know if it was the previous tenant playing a prank on the next people, or what, but he just quietly noped out and kept looking. Would have been a prank. Police forces don't use body outlines. If the rest of the house looks a little worn but the shower is immaculate, there's a very good chance the landlord has painted over the moldy shower tiles grout. I learned this from a bond cleaner. If it's moistened or has a history of mold, chances are, especially in older buildings, that the mold wasn't caused by the previous inhabitant but is there because of the building itself, and you'll never be able to get completely rid of it no matter what. If you know any way of making an apartment less moist, tell me. I'd highly appreciate it. Oddly specific things that are listed as not the responsibility of the owner management, like repairing fridge water dispensers. I work for a huge multifamily, apartments, company. A few things come to mind. If the community is running very generous specials, 2 months free, $1,000 gift card, etc., this is a bad sign. Ask how often the pest control company is on site. Every company will have a contractor on site periodically. If it's every other week, you won't have pests. If it's multiple times a week, this is a bad sign. Ask about other apartments in the area. If they give you good options to check out, they are good management and confident in their product. If they crap on their competition, this is a bad sign. Ask about how to pay rent. If there are different options, online, paper check, etc., this is a good company. If they only accept one method, or there are fees attached to it, this is a bad sign. Ask about the types of people that live there, ages, gender, students or professionals. If they give you a legit answer, this is a bad sign. Any respectable leasing person knows it's illegal to answer these questions. Ask about their occupancy. If under 90%, this is a bad sign. If it's a brand new community, ignore this advice. Side note, you want to live at a brand new community if you can. To piggyback on this, avoid old communities if you can. If it's built in a year starting in one, this is a bad sign. In old communities, elevators and HVAC won't be working for a random weekend once in a while. Appliances are old, pest issues are likely, etc. Keep in mind, however, bad signs are always bad signs for everyone. If you're looking for cheap, bad signs are gonna be everywhere. I am not a picky dude and I can fix and or deal with crap on my own. So bad signs are fine with me if I'm saving money. As with anything, you get what you pay for. A very distinct smell, not necessarily bad, but not good either, or an overpowering air freshener smell. It usually means that there's mold, the apartment wasn't well maintained, or a dead body. Our last place had things written into the lease like if the cops are called in because of you more than twice, you'll be evicted. Should have left right then. Usually this even includes non-emergency situations. I had a friend who had a crazy stalker. She called the police a few times because this rando kept showing up and got evicted because of it. The landlord is talking about nutsack pubes within 5 minutes of meeting you. The swimming pool is freaking green. There are 3 adopted stray cats allowed to live in the clubhouse common area. There is one of those funny kitschy bar signs in the front office along the lines of asking for the manager won't help. I am the manager and I can't help you. Are oddly specific, I know. True story. To be honest, I'd probably take one of the cats. If you have the nicest car in the lot, you're going to have a bad time. Also applies for bicycles if in a cycle heavy area like colleges. If you see a bunch of window units along with regular air conditioners, that means they're too goddamn lazy to fix the AC. Maybe it's not a huge deal in the north, but in Texas the air conditioner is your most valuable possession. Been living in 85 degrees for months. Can confirm. Don't worry, we have every apartment professionally cleaned before move-in. Never had a good experience when they point that out in the tour. Same thing with that's on our list to get fixed. It's sort of like admitting we can't even handle this crap. People are found dead in the parking lot regularly. Lots of shady looking people hanging in the parking lot after midnight. Cops get called to the pool area multiple times a weekend. Somebody doing a trashy photoshoot of a really fat chick in a blonde wig on the barbecue area. People leave their trash in the hallways for days at a time. There is a constant turnover of maintenance workers cause they are sick of dealing with abusive and disrespectful tenants. I can keep going. I just moved out of one. Leasing agents who are really pushy about signing the lease. They're usually trying to lock you into something no one else wants. There isn't a waiting list that you magically jumped in front of. Lived in many apartments and the worst one locked me into the lease 4 months ahead of time while promising me how wonderful the place was. Drive through the complex and look at the people who live there. It's not nice, but you can judge by appearance most of the time to tell what kind of people live there. See lots of dogs and children. It's gonna be loud. Lots of old beat up cars. They always have the loudest bass stereos that will be played constantly. Read reviews online. They generally give you the worst you'll experience. The worst place I lived up to the reviews. Not living upstairs on the top floor is the earliest warning sign you'll be miserable. You will hear every single step someone takes and likely they constantly walk, stomp, around all night while you're trying to sleep. Look at the paint. If there is a bunch of layers they probably do not maintain the place very well. Also check if they just paint over debris. There's a laundry room shared by several apartment units. It has only 2 washers and 2 dryers, and one of each has an out of order sign on them. The 2 that still work are almost never available when you need them. Imagine the sound created from a pedal hitting a drum, and now imagine your entire apartment is inside that drum. That's what having upstairs neighbors is like. Conversely, how many flights of steps are you willing to bring all of your crap up, including your weekly groceries? A good apartment would be on the ground floor, but have no neighbors above, keeps out noise, is a well-maintained property, and is a good monthly price. Oh wait, that's called a nice house. I rented a condo where my upstairs neighbors were so noisy it was absolute heck. They were very large people with 3 kids. I couldn't handle the herd of elephants from dawn to dusk, so I moved out as soon as my 6-month lease was up. When I was moving out, I noticed marks in the ceiling like someone had been pounding on the ceiling with the end of a broomstick. I had never noticed them before. Always look at the ceiling. Always flush the toilets and listen from other rooms to see how loud it is. I have a rent control apartment, thank God, but the pipes are unbearably loud, especially at night when my roommate is using the sink or shower. It's driving me mad. Cop it, anywhere, for any reason. May as well kiss your security deposit goodbye then and there. It'll never end up looking clean enough in the end, no matter how careful you are with it, unless you're in one of those awful giant apartment complexes where they rip up and lay carpet between every single tenant, in which case I'm sorry you were forced to resorting to those accommodations to begin with, and they'll probably still charge you for carpet damage regardless. Always look at the actual apartment you are renting. Do not let them show you a show model or a different one because they are all the same. If the landlord lady knows how much everything costs, including the carpet and curtains, and reminds you multiple times how quickly you will be rung up for damaging them, after they clearly told you how not to, you're not likely getting your deposit back with these slumlords, and your neighbors are probably a mix of sickheads, paranoid schizophrenics, drug dealers, temporary not homeless, repetitive rehab relapses, etc. Because the landlady has had to replace their stuff enough times after evicting tenants on a weekly basis, and expects you'll be no different. Or just take the shortcut and ask a veteran of the complex how many times the police and EMT show per week. 5 times is not an unusual average for these American shitholes. When you peek into the window of the unit next door, there is a gigantic Nazi flag hanging on their wall. Happened while I was helping a friend move, years ago. The look on her face. WTF have I just gotten myself into? I have a few that I haven't seen mentioned. We move a lot, so we see a lot of apartments and rent very few of them. My lists are quite specific. Mobile formatting sucks. Sorry. Nails sticking up or pushing up against the paint means that there is way too much moisture. It's often the very first sign of a water leak. Pass on that crap. Run your hand down several walls from as far as you can reach to the baseboard's bathroom, wall to the outside, and shared wall. You're feeling for any bowing in the walls from moisture. If there's any curve and you don't see other signs of settling like repaired wall cracks around door frames, pass. Freshly caulked bathroom grout is a very big red flag. It's freaking never properly removed and redone. It's only ever some crap that got smoothed over crumbling moldy grout. White paint with a grey cast in some areas of the wall or thicker paint in only a few areas, combined with the nails above, is usually a crappy application of Kills paint over mold. Showers with the old 4 inches tile surrounds should be avoided if possible. Few of them are done well enough to keep moisture out of the walls. That will vary by area though. Poorly done repainting or flooring that doesn't sit under baseboards is a sign that they don't care about things being done right as long as they are technically done. Look for small signs of that attitude like corrosion on fixtures, lack of kickplates on flooring joints, like wood to carpet, paint splattered on blinds or flooring, and the most anecdotal one, if there are lots of plants and chairs on people's balconies instead of garbage and chairs, it's probably halfway decent. I know this isn't a direct answer to the exact question, but there's a common misconception that older buildings are quieter and new ones have paper-thin walls. This isn't necessarily true. Old buildings with wood floors that creak are going to transmit more noise than a building with concrete floors. Also, they didn't put insulation between units back then. I used to get woken up by my neighbor's 6 AM alarm clock. Heck, they barely even insulated outside walls in the old days. My first apartment in college had a murder occur in the bathroom back in 1997 of another college student. The murder, a fraternity member, would go on to kill another student later. This isn't what makes the apartment bad. It was the landlord never telling my roommates and I about the crime. Not that I think he was obligated to. Late lack of response to emails. Failure to pick up phones call back. Suddenly they showed you the wrong apartment and are giving you one your disabled mother can't get to. Before you hand in that deposit, if they are sitting there telling you your apartment isn't ready after the move-in date being set for Elms at 2 months, walk out if you can. Honestly, a good apartment complex is one that will always keep in touch. Sure, their rates may suck and the company may rip you off here and there, but as long as the staff are answering emails, phone calls and are willing to help, that's all you need. So I have a few experiences. Dirt, uncleanliness, signals a bad landlord or apt manager that won't clean between tenants. There may be a lot more they will ignore. My manager was a drunk in the apartment above mine, would throw bottles into the alley at night. Eventually the place burnt down. Strange covers on vents, windows or doors. Asked the current tenant why their vents had plastic wrap on them. It's to keep out the roaches and rats. Was true. Looked at more reviews later and building was known for these issues. Cabinets at our hiding utility auditors opened one cabinet and found electric meters for the building. The story is they added another door to the hallway to enclose the bathroom and meters and considered it included in the apartment. Only catch as utility guys have the keys to this section of the apartment. Slightly awkward if you are not as clothed as you like when guy just barges in. Lease has a lot of mention of toilet issues. Our basement flooded within months of signing lease due to faulty pipes. Landlord was fighting with old tenant when they left, blaming it on tampons and wipes being flushed. Roommates. One guy was a magician. He let it drop they were currently in a legal battle fighting the landlord on charging more rent than they should. But the kicker was he drank milk from the gallon and stuck his finger in the peanut butter jar while showing us the kitchen. People can't control take care of their dogs. Had 4 instances of overactive poorly trained pets bite, constantly jump or the room smelled of pee and fesses. Landlord lives downstairs and doesn't want anyone loud. Not sure how you can quantify a person's level of loud. As opposed to bugs, I would definitely read the reviews people have online, as well as looking up the history of the complex. I lived in this complex in college that was 10/10 scamming people. They would change the name of the complex every so years so they could start fresh, when meanwhile it was a horrible place to live. If something needs repair and they tell you they will have it all fixed up right after you move in, don't move in, because they will never come back now that you've signed your lease and they're getting their rent. Look up the management company and the Google reviews. The place we currently live has a management company that literally has 1 star with the Better Business Bureau and the Google reviews are like 1.5 stars. The only people I see putting in anything above 1 star are literally saying in their review that they're applicants and they're begging management to accept them. I honestly wish my roomie had looked into that before renting this place, but now we're stuck with it. Believe me, trust the word of mouth via Google, it's usually right. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.